Few designs have been as long-lived as the Porsche 911, or as successfully updated. Its instantly recognizable silhouette has been around for more than 30 years, but with each revision, this rear-engine, air-cooled, flat-six-powered sports car from Zuffenhausen has been made to corner more aggressively, accelerate harder, stop shorter, and through detail refinement, look better. To many of its followers, the 911 is considered to be the only real Porsche. Long heralded as America's sports car, the ZR1 is the most powerful production Corvette ever made, foregoing the standard pushrod V8 for one with 4 cams, 32 valves, and 405 horsepower. The ZR1's LT5 engine is a multinational effort, with engineering assistance supplied by England's Lotus and assembly carried out by Mercury Marine in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Final assembly of the entire car is performed where Corvettes have long been built, in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Whisked from car show sweetheart to production vehicle in just 3 years, the Viper has put Chrysler back on the supercar map in bold block lettering. The approach is brute force rather than finesse, as the Viper is really a car built around its engine, a thundering 400 horsepower 8-liter pushrod V10. Pampering its driver is not part of the equation. The Viper has side curtains instead of roll-up windows, a rudimentary fabric top, and just the basic controls and gauges. Few designs have been as long-lived. With 59% of its 3,065 pounds borne by the rear wheels, the 911's tail can still be made to step out by lifting off the throttle or braking under considerable side loading. However, this tendency is much more benign with its improved rear suspension. Where this rear weight bias helps out tremendously is in the 911's fantastically powerful braking, effected through huge vented and cross-drilled rotors clamped by racing-bred ABS-assisted calipers. Overall, this car has a great feeling of precision and finesse. Carrying 200 pounds more than a standard Corvette and wearing wider tires, the ZR1 is a little less nimble, but more than makes up for this in sheer power and speed. The ZR1 attained an honest 178 miles per hour in our latest road and track top speed test, which places it a solid third in this group of sports cars. Drag strip launches are uneventful and easily repeatable, making it child's play to get 0 to 60 clockings in the 5-second range all day long. And the big V8's power band is so broad that you seldom have to worry about being in the wrong gear. With its short wheelbase and an impressive 450 pound-feet of torque, the Viper can feel twitchy when exiting low-speed corners if you're not smooth on the throttle. But its handling in general is fantastic and has the most direct race car-like feel of the bunch, with 0.96 G of lateral grip, just a touch of understeer in a steady-state condition, and virtually no body roll. With a 0 to 60 time of 4.8 seconds, the Viper's straight-line performance so overpowers the senses that its excellent handling can be overlooked. With 59% of its 3,060... As Ferdinand Porsche was commissioned to design the Volkswagen Beetle well before World War II, it's not surprising that the original Porsche 911 showed aspects of its design, from its rear-mounted air-cooled engine to its torsion bar springs. Making its production debut in 1964, the 911 had a 2-liter flat-six power plant that was essentially a scaled-down version of the 1962 Formula One flat-8 engine. It wasn't until almost a decade later that Porsche introduced its Carrera, an appellation that signified its most powerful model that originated from the grueling Mexican Carrera Panamericana road race. This model became the first Porsche road car whose rear tires were wider than the fronts, and which had a rear spoiler to increase downforce. Although the styling changes to the 911 shape over the years have been subtle, each mechanical revision has improved on its superb performance capabilities, preserving its status as one of the most prestigious sports cars of the last 3 decades. Chevrolet introduced the Corvette in 1953 as the all-American answer to the very popular British roadsters of that era. Named after a sleek and fast Canadian submarine chaser of World War II, the first Corvette was fitted with a fiberglass body and the Blue Flame pushrod inline-6 engine. Although the fiberglass body and front-engine rear-drive configuration have become integral components of the Corvette's design, the body shape, engine, and chassis have seen much change over the last 40 years. In 1990, Chevrolet launched the ZR1 project with a mandate to build a supercar that would compete with Ferrari, Porsche, and other European sports cars. Though the last of the 6,938 ZR1s rolled off the production line on April 28, 1995, the ZR1 remains one of the fastest and most powerful production cars in the world. Although claimed by some to be Chrysler's first true 2-seat sports car, the Viper is based on the history of sports car designs dating back over 40 years. The first of these was the 1952 Chrysler Hemi-powered Cunningham C2R sports racer, which despite its limited production run, has been cited as the grandfather of the Viper. Perhaps the greatest inspiration came from the legendary Shelby Cobra of the 60s, whose success was based on a formula developed by its creator, Carroll Shelby. He took British-built AC roadsters and bolted in massive 289 and 427 cubic inch V8s. In 1991, only 2 years after starting development, Carroll Shelby drove the Viper as the official pace car of the Indy 500. 1 year later, the Viper was rolling off the production line and into the eager hands of enthusiasts. As Ferdinand Porsche was commissioned to design, the 911's air-cooled flat-six engine has always been its most intriguing feature, with its belt-driven cooling fan and a crankcase to which bolts 6 individual cylinders and heads. To make the best use of its 270 horsepower, the engine is mated to a 6-speed transaxle, a Porsche production first. Also of note is the new aluminum multi-link rear suspension that replaces the less forgiving semi-trailing arms that the car has had since its inception. The Corvette's structure is unusual, with fiberglass panels that are bonded to a skeletal steel frame. This structure exhibits some flex, which takes away from the feel of precision, but tires, brakes, and suspension geometry are all so good that this is more of a subjective demerit than anything else. The ZR1's 6-speed transmission has an extremely tall top gear for relaxed cruising, and cockpit adjustable suspension damping makes those longer journeys more comfortable. By far the largest production car engine sold in the US today, the Viper's 8-liter all-aluminum V10 shares the architecture of Chrysler's small block 360 cubic inch V8, but with 2 more cylinders grafted on. Its exhaust exits through side pipes incorporated into the rocker panels. The Viper's construction follows race car practice, with a square-section tubular steel frame, tubular double wishbone suspension with coil-over shocks and plastic bodywork. The 911's air-cooled flat. This closed-circuit speedway is a little bit different from the open road courses in that you'll get a chance to learn every inch of track intimately as you power through each lap. The high bank turns make for intense metal-on-metal racing. The challenge is to consistently pick the best line if you want to bring in the best time. Congratulations! You have won the race and beat the best time for this track. You've got a top 10 time for this track.